Today we're going to demonstrate how to change the filters in an under-counter system. Specifically, I have an under-counter nanofiltration system. It works exactly the same as an under-counter reverse osmosis, but the same thing applies for our triple under-counter system. The filter set I use in my system is a particle filter and 2 KDF filters. You can have a look at the video for our filter sets to understand which one would be the right set for you to choose for your system. Basically, all we'll need to change the filters is the filters, a towel so to dry up a little bit where we will be doing the maintenance, and then everything else should already be in place. So let's start. First thing to do is find where your system's water supply is connected. Mine is connected back here, and there's a little valve on the supply connector, and just move that 90 degrees to close it. I've got a unit with a pump, so in my case I will switch off the electricity to the system. Where the Nano and the RO systems have a tank as well. My tank is located under here. It's a little difficult to see on camera, but there's a valve on top of the tank. Just close the valve on the tank and then release any pressure in the system from the faucet. In this case, basically nothing. Alright, and then hopefully you've installed your system with enough pipe to make it nice and easy to reach. In my system's case, I just grab it out of the cupboard. I install my spanner with the system, and then just want to take a towel and just put it underneath the area we'll be working on the system, so I don't make a mess in the kitchen here. Set the system against the back there so it can release. Okay, then basically we'll start with the first filter and we'll inspect the condition of the filters and then decide which filters actually needs to be changed and which doesn't. I stay in Centurion, the specific area where I'm. The water quality is unfortunately really atrocious, so I do this check every 3 months, as very often I need to change all the filters on a 3-monthly basis. So let's take the system. So the spanner's here in case you struggle, but normally you wouldn't need it. Like here, just undone the first housing just with my hand. You can see there's a bit of water that wastes. And as you can see on this filter here, it is actually should have been replaced already. As I said, it's been only 3 months, but so it's very important to check this often on your system to get an idea of what the water quality is like in your area. This is a new one. This is what the old one looks like. So as you can see, it gets dirty from the outside going in, and we've basically caught it just as the last bit is starting to get dirty. Ideally, what you would want is you wouldn't want it to be brown on the outside of this ring where it seals yet. You would want a millimeter or 2 play left, because in this specific case what's happened now, you can see it's getting slightly brown on the inside. So that means we've had dirt pass through the filter and then continue on to the filters further in the line, and this can damage the other filters you have in your system. Okay, what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to pour the water from this housing out. Unfortunately, this housing is quite dirty, so we'll have to wash this later, as it will need a good clean. But let's have a look at what our other filters look like. The stage 2 and 3 on my system here are KDF filters, which typically have about 4 times the lifespan of a normal carbon filter. Again, this is due to the quality of the water here. It's not required in all areas, but as I said, here where I am, it's a must. Otherwise, with the regular carbon filters, they had to be replaced once a month, and firstly, I kept forgetting, and secondly, it really becomes a bit of a schlep to maintain the system. Then it's definitely worthwhile to spend the extra money to rather get the nicer filters. Okay, on these with a KDF or a carbon filter, what you want to do is you want to just feel at the top here of the seal to feel if it's slimy. And fortunately, it feels like these KDF filters have seen better days already as well. So it means something must have happened in the distribution system in this area, because we definitely got a lot of dirt through, and we definitely got a lot of bacteria through, because you can feel the sliminess on the filter here. And this filter's got a very, very high bacteria resistance. So this is normally not something that happens easily on the KDF filters. This one carries a little bit of water, so I'll just leave that in the sink. Let water out. Have a look at the housing. Again, you can see it's slightly discolored, and this normally shouldn't be the case. The reason for this was because we had some pass-through on this first filter, and therefore again this housing we will definitely have to wash. Let's check the last one. In most systems you don't have two identical filters following each other. In this specific one here we do, because of this high bacteria content, we had to switch to KDFs. What I might actually do in this case now is change the last one to an ultrafiltration membrane, because if it's been that much bacteria, this one's also definitely got bacteria on it. If there's that much bacteria that's grown on the filters in a 3-month period, it means that this water supply really is not at a good level. So we need to change it with a second barrier in here to prevent damage of the membrane. The membrane is your most expensive filter, and unfortunately if you get quite a bit of bacteria through, it can handle a bit, but you do damage the membrane, and then very often you'd have to replace that with the other filters as well. So, okay, the top parts of the housings don't look too bad, but let's water out. Again, this one's cleaner than the previous two, so this one isn't too bad. But what we'll do here is we'll just clean out all three housings. What you ideally want is just a piece of cloth with a little bit of bleach or jig, just to kill any bacteria sitting in the physical housings. Because these filters were so dirty, we had to wash all of the filter housings. We've just done that, and they're finished. All the filters, we've double checked them. Sediment filters really very dirty. The bacteria growth on the KDFs is really quite bad. So the next thing we need to check is whether the actual membrane is still in okay condition. Now, for that, what we do is we disconnect the cap here on the membrane housing. We need to disconnect the pipe from it first. On my system, it's a quick coupling, which basically means I take out this little blue clip, and just push this back, hold it with one finger on one side, one finger on the other side, and then you can just pull the pipe out. The other kind of fittings for this is the Jacko fittings, which is just a nut which you would just unscrew just with your finger, and then you can remove it. Nice thing, the membrane housings, they're just in quick release clips, so you can just take it out, so you can put a grip on it and unscrew it. Now what we're hoping is that the membrane looks a little bit better, and unfortunately it does not. That membrane is normally completely white, and we'll definitely need to replace this one, as this one, quickly just grab it at the edge with a spanner. Yes, now this is completely slimy, and as you can see, this is supposed to be white. You've got quite a bit of growth on the membrane there. Luckily these membranes can handle quite a bit, but you'd want to avoid it. So what we're going to do in this situation, if you find that the filter system looks like this, we're going to need different filters to what we actually planned, because we'll need a new nanofiltration membrane, and instead of that last KDF, we'll now have to place an ultrafiltration membrane in place, which is something to block the bacteria, because it's basically destroyed this nanofiltration membrane in 3 months, and it's quite an expensive item, this membrane. So what we're going to do now, we're going to cut go get the correct filters, and then be back to show you how to install everything. Alright, now we've gotten our DU membrane and gotten an ultrafiltration membrane to replace the last KDF for the next filter set. Just to put it in perspective, you can see there's a big color difference here, but more than anything else, see this is a completely white material that it's supposed to be. This is all, not sure if you'll see it on the video, but there's little colonies of things growing on the filter itself. So that unfortunately means this nanofiltration membrane is also written off. What we've done a bit of cleaning on the membrane housing as well, but just want to quickly demonstrate how you would actually clean this membrane housing. Is take a cloth, put some Jik on it, put some sunlight on it, and then take a screwdriver and try and actually just get that cloth in everywhere. Now this process unfortunately will take a while, so we'll be back with you as soon as we're done again. Alright, now we've got a clean membrane housing, we've got a clean cap for the membrane. To install the new membrane, very important, this seal surface sits at the back, so the side that the cap fits on, and it just seals on the system at the front here. So basically all you do is you slide it into that housing and just take it with your fingers and just push it in. It'll go easy a little bit, and then you push it hard just for that last seal, and then you can put your cap back on here. Just tighten by hand. The quick coupling is very simple. You just push it in lightly, it grabs, and then push it in more, and it slides past the O-ring. Replace the little blue clip to prevent it from accidentally releasing. Okay, now we've got the new membrane installed. Normally you would have a T33 as well, which is the little carbon filter at the top. We'll show that separately, how to install that, as this specific system does not have that filter equipped. But okay, then we need to fit our new nice and clean filters, which will hopefully with this different set last us a little longer than 3 months, but unfortunately that sediment filter dying that quickly means we'll have to check this system quite often, or we need to put a bigger system in front of the whole house to prevent that level of sediment getting through to the little system in the kitchen. Okay, so first filter is our sediment filter. You just pop it in the housing. There's a little pin at the bottom which needs to slide over to center it. Then lift up the system, and there's a pin at the top as well, so just try to keep it so that the filter stays centered. Click it in place. It is a little better to have an extra pair of hands for this, but it is doable to do everything yourself, and just tighten it tight by hand. Next filter, in this case, as we're using the filter for our bacteria and our source water, which is available on our website, is the KDF filter. KDF filter, same thing, just pop it in the housing, make sure it slides over the pin at the bottom, hold the system, and just screw that in. And come back to this one to tighten it now. And we take our ultrafiltration membrane. Lift our system up again. And it goes in our final filter stage. And then this ultrafiltration one I want to tighten properly. Specifically with the ultrafiltration cartridge, it is a little bit harder to compress, as its O-ring is not as soft as some of the other filters. So what you want to do is you want to have a look here. See, there's a slightly larger gap with the ultrafiltration membrane than with the KDF. So in this case, we will actually use our spanner and just give it that extra little bit of a tightening, just so we can check that it will seal. And there, now we have got our new filter set in place. Now, two things we've done is the membrane will require, as I said, it will require quite a lot of flushing to get rid of all the formaldehyde without that T33 as a last filter. And the ultrafiltration one we've put in here is also a membrane. So we've basically got two membranes that needs to flush with the system now. So we're really going to have to leave the system for quite a while to flush. For flushing, we leave the tank closed, we open up the water supply and we turn on the power, and we keep the tap open so it can basically just continuously run through without storing any water. But first things first is we need to now check whether we've actually gotten any leaks on the system. So what we do is I'm just going to quickly dry off here in the areas where we were, just so we can see if there's new water that starts appearing. Then we go back to our source supply and turn that one back on. And this will now run for a little bit to fill up the first housings. On the pump unit, it actually shuts off the water going to the membrane, not to further, so we'll have to turn the electricity on for the water to actually be able to run through the whole system. But before we do that, we'll just check whether any of the first three housings have got leaks in them. It's just busy filling up at the moment. It sounds like it's starting to pressurize. What we do then is we're going to turn on the power so it can open. Then this system has the optional solenoid for flushing to drain, so it actually opens up the whole unit to run to the drain connection when you turn it on, just to give the filters a nice flush. And now we're on it. You can see water's coming out of the faucet. That means the whole system has got water in. What we need to do just quickly is I'm just going to close that off and just let the system build up enough pressure. You can hear the pump is straining now because it's just pressurizing everything, and then it's switched off. So now everything is under its full pressure. What we do, we inspect around here because this is where we worked. That looks fine. Inspect this pipe. That looks fine. And then we inspect these housings just around the edges, and they look fine. Yes, so we haven't got anything to redo. If you find a leak, then there's two things to do. If it's not tightened very tightly, you can tighten it a little bit more, like I did with that last stage filter here. If it's quite tight and you're finding a leak, it might be that one of the O-rings has jumped out of place. And you just open the housing again and just check whether the O-ring is properly in place, and then close it up again. Fortunately, we don't have any leaks here. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn the system on, let it run. As I said, because we've got two membranes and we haven't got that T33, unfortunately we need to leave the system to run for an hour or two to flush itself properly. So won't keep you busy for that long on the video. But once that is done, you then can close the tap, open the valve on top of the tank, which we had in the cupboard here, let it fill one tank. You'll hear when the system turns off. Drain the entire tank, and then just let it fill another tank, and then it should be ready to use. If you take water and you see a little film on the water, almost like an oiliness, that is still the preservatives from the membrane. Let it drain another tank or two. But yes, then you should be back up to normal operation, and that's how you change all the filters.